Now, what did you think mix-wise? Was he? Were you here already when you started? He wasn't here. You had already started the mixes.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. The mixes were already on.
So,
in fact, one of the things that I like about him, he said he knew how to mix.
Yeah, I was a mixer in El Paso.
Liar.
And hey, I'll try and find my old cassettes. Graham Central Station and The Place, the two clubs in El Paso, Texas. And actually, the owner owned like 40 clubs throughout the Southwest area. And actually, the guy, Freddie, who told me about BMX initially, he was a friend of mine because I had gotten him a job at one of the clubs because I was like the head DJ in El Paso, and I'd gotten him a job at one of the clubs and stuff, and that's how that all came about. But I also had obviously radio experience. I had already been an APD at an urban station. My goodness, that was like 1980, and so I had 3 years of radio. I was a mixer, and I was young. I could come on down. Didn't have to spend too much money.
Yeah. we did fly you in, didn't we?
No. I drove in my Pinto, and I remember.
That's right.
I drove a Pinto, and it made it all the way down here. I still remember coming in on the Dan Ryan.
Right.
Coming in on the Dan Ryan, I said, "What the hell did I get myself into?" I was like, "Lord have mercy," but.
It's still the same way now.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah, so.
Right, so now you've got the mix shows going. Now, were you feeling it? I mean, did you know as well when you were on the air doing Chicago Street Hits? I mean, Lee, you had once mentioned that, it was like a big boom box. And it wasn't just Division Street, right, Frank? I mean, it wasn't just it was the suburbs were.
Well, let's clear that up right now. Division
suburbs.
Street was a straight rock and roll town.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean, there wasn't one damn bar in Division Street that would play anything remotely close to what was on BMX. And the music I'm talking about, mainstream music. You got to understand, BMX, we were, I'll never forget, we went to New York, we went to a seminar, I went upstairs on the roof, Farley was downstairs on the bottom of a Warner Brothers seminar with Jive Record, or whatever, and Madonna was singing to us her new song, so we came back and played Madonna. Farley came back and played Grandmaster Flash. You know what I mean? Which you might think, okay, Madonna, Grandmaster Flash. These were unknown artists.
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
and
time.
everybody was a kick-ass track at that time.
If you went to Division Street, which was like the quote-unquote in part of the city in Chicago, that was our Times Square, our Rodeo Drive, whatever. You have Mothers, which is one of the oldest clubs that have been here. You had PS Chicago, which has been there. You had Faces, all these other goofy clubs. Not one of those places played anything that was on BMX. So where was it happening? It was happening on the south side. It was happening in the suburbs. It was happening in Indiana.
In the south, in the city, and like Sowers and
Correct.
Nimbus and
Correct.
The city clubs. But as far as like Division Street really didn't even recognize it till like when Mickey was working there, you were working.
No,
down
I'll tell you what.
I was working down there. All the guys were working down there by 84, 83.
I'll give you an inside scoop on that too, dude. I worked at Mothers in '83. I worked at PS in '82.
At PS,
and I'll tell you what,
they wouldn't even allow us to play some of that stuff at PS.
I just had a meeting with Perry Orr yesterday, about doing some work for him again, and I reminded him, and Tony Batoy was at this meeting too. I said, Perry, remember when you came up to me and said, I'm going to hire you for PS, which is one of the most elite nightclubs ever to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he said, under one condition. I said, what's that? He goes, I don't want to hear that BMX garbage you're playing. I said, what does that leave me to play? You know what he told me? He goes, dude, all the hot songs, Caribbean Queen.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Nobody's going to dance to that. You know what I mean? He goes, yeah, you play that. You play Pat Benatar, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, all the hot stuff. But none of that stuff you guys play on the radio because I don't want that element here. I go, element? Dude, there is no element. It's such a diverse crowd. It's not, it's not a black crowd. It's not a Latin crowd. It's everything.
And that was the same ignorance in the clubs.
Dude,
that you
they
had
banned
in radio.
it. They banned it. There wasn't one bar you could work on Division Street, and that's when all the suburban clubs were taken off. All the clubs, Mickey was working in Indiana. All the Indiana clubs took off. All the Latin clubs took off.
Hurley was out by me. I was I was on the south side, and then I was in Berwyn at a joint called the Cottage. Steve was down the block. Steve Hurley was spinning at High Rollers.
Right.
In Brookfield. And I remember, I'd go see him. We closed earlier than he did. I'd go see him, and here's Steve sitting at the bar bumming. I said, what's up, man? I said, man, son of a bitch ain't paid me in 2 weeks. He had to chase the Greek around for like $33.
Yeah.
But it was starting to happen in the suburbs. 85, 86 was when Division Street finally had to come around.
Do you realize, and Lee can answer this, so can Armando, do you realize no radio station in Chicago would play Madonna because they didn't know if she was a white or black artist? They didn't know what category to put her in. No radio station would play a rap song because they thought rap was new wave and underground. Smart Bar was the only place that a rap club could play at.
Now, Lee, first rap record you played, do you remember what it was?
Oh, I know it. If you don't, I know it.
God.
I know it because I think Farley made you play it.
Well, the Sugar Hill Gang, we played at GCI.
Armando probably knows this too.
I'm trying to think back.
Well, I'm talking about rap for that time.
Yeah, for that. No, I mean,
Grandmaster Flash, Fat Boy.
All I remember is UTFO, the Roxanne, 11 remixes, you know.
Earlier.
Funky 4 plus 1 more, I remember back in the days.
Think of Houdini. Think of Magic Swan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
What the hell? Because it was an up-tempo record. It was
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And that used to blow people. Let me tell you, on the south side, on 79th and Harlem, to the north side, all the way up on Foster and Devon, there was like the biggest record, and nobody knew what the hell was
That's
going on
right.
with music.
That Nucleus,
Whatever.
computer games and all that stuff. Yeah.
84.
Yeah, but there was no other radio station in ever playing stuff like that.
Remember Planet Rock come out? Planet Rock.
That was
81.
Yeah.
Weapon must be the music.
Julian was over in Anderson.
Dilly gas.
Losing the battles with still gas.
Yeah, that was. But see, at that time, it was different because it wasn't like everything else that had preceded it. But by time the harder stuff started coming in, then that was milquetoast compared to where it grew. And I remember taking a few stands on some of the rap stuff. I just didn't want to do it. I was more apt to play a dance song than a rap song. And in fact, during the mixes, I think we kind of had a little governor on how much rap. Because Farley
You know what? It was the one summer when he
rap.
came back. Farley, king of house at the time,
Right.
playing the house disco style music, turns around one day and starts playing Kool Moe Dee, Wild Wild West. And I remember you having a bit of a conniption going, okay, what are we doing now? Are we going more, are we going to do a half hour of rap now in your mixes?
Yeah.
Or are we pissing off our core audience?
Exactly.
I mean, what are we going to do?
Well,
Because
see, I used to fight for that balance.
Right.
Because I didn't want to turn anybody off.
See, but the thing is, let me jump ahead a little bit. Today, most of the mix shows reflects what the radio station's playing. So, like, if you take B96 today, 99% of the music is being played in regular format.
Right.
What Lee's trying to say is that, okay, Farley, for the past 7-8 years, you've been playing your own unique style of house music. If you're going to change and play all rap music now, where's your core audience going to go? Because Frank's not going to play it. Mickey's not going to play it. Julian's not going to play it. Ralphie's not going to play it. So it's going to disappear, and we're going to lose it. You follow me? Because when people tuned in to BMX, Armando, they could tell who was on the air just from one song that was playing.
Right.
Because we all didn't, if it was a real big hot song, yeah, we all played it.
Right.
But
you went into your own group.
But you stayed, then you went back into what you were doing.
Yeah.
That's right. And that was the whole point of having 5 different guys, because they all had their own unique style.
Yeah.
And that's what made our mix shows different from any other in the country. You could go to New York and hear, they do a 4-hour mix and they all sound the same.
Yeah, it's true. And each mixer had a unique style in regard to mixing. I mean, Mickey mixing Oliver was, my goodness, with the blade. I mean, incredible.
Right.
Incredible back in the days.
Ralphie was a blade freak early. Then he didn't start. But Ralphie's first mixes, he was editing with the blade too.
Yeah.
And
Early digital editing with a razor blade.
The hard way. The hard way.
That's right.
The blade and some tape, you know. But we were aggressive with the music back then because I remember you brought to me "Pump Up the Volume." You mentioned it to me, and then I featured it as a street hit on the show. You said it was happening, in the clubs, or you had it as an import or something like those lines.
Again, because all of us were so diverse, and we all worked at so many different types of clubs. I mean, at one point, we all worked in gay clubs. We all worked in all-black clubs. We all worked in suburban clubs. We all worked in Latin clubs. And the music that you had to play was very, very diverse. So I was hanging out one day at Neo's, which was a punk rock bar, which played nothing that we ever played. And I heard the DJ playing Pump Up the Volume on an import. And I said, wow, that's a jam. I'm going to play it on the radio. And he asked me, he said, please don't, because it won't be cool for me to do it anymore. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you fucker start playing it. And it's not cool for me to play because my new wave punk fans will hear it on BMX. And I go, oh, come on, dude, I got to play it. It's a jam, you know what I mean? but that was cool. Then, again,
right.
Julian would get some import record. Bill would get another record. Ralphie would get another song that whoever. And they were good records. They were great songs.
That's exactly it.
They were songs that people could relate and go buy.
And that's what we were striving for. That's what I wanted. I wanted that uniqueness. I didn't want this BMX to sound like any other urban station in the country.
You know that, like, at Loop Records, there was only, 4 or 5 record stores that sold the records that we were playing. And I remember Loop Records downtown, Jesse Jones coming up to me saying, I sold 30,000 copies of Hypnotic Tango.
What?
A record that no one knows. And I go, 30,000 copies? He was calling the label in Italy, and they had to keep pressing the record. Then when Angel Eyes came out, he sold 50,000 copies out of one store.
Whoa.
Angel Eyes. I'm not making this stuff up, dude. That's how big these records were. And they were pressing on cassette just because girls would come driving from Barrington to Loop Records to say, what's this song? Touchdown, Angel Eyes. You know what I mean? And he was the only guy that knew.
Wow.
Because there were no stores. They went to the mall.
Right.
They went to Sam Goody or whatever the stores were.
Right.
You got that Hypnotic Tango boy? No, we ain't got that in. That was BMX.
That's right.
Nowhere
else could you hear it.
Doctor's Cat for the Drive.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, and
Oh, yeah. Nice and wild.
Let me tell you, and it's a trip, too, because I get to consult adult entertainment clubs as well as DJ in one. And like I tell you guys, it's a trip, man. When you go into a set and you got some lifeless girl who can barely walk across the stage in high heels, you play something like All Shucks. Or you pull out the Peach Boys, Don't Make Me Wait, and she's on stage. What is this shit? This generation has no clue about it, and that was the majority of the reason why I bothered you so much around the holidays, Armando. Let's do this shit now before it gets so lost, before nobody knows about BMX. Nobody even can recollect half the songs, because in 10, 15 years, look, man, we're going to be falling apart pretty soon. We ain't going to look
I'm
as good.
starting to fall apart
we ain't
now.
gonna look as good as we look now,
I got a question for both of you, Armando and Lee, both. Answer me seriously. Could a station like that ever happen again?
Yes.
Yeah,
With the right mix, the right marketing approach, that would fit today. Could you take that old sound and just move it to 2006? Probably not. But I think the philosophy, the attitude, the right mix for what's happening today